Perfect.
Hari Om. Good evening and welcome to all with whom I'm connected online. The topic I have chosen to speak on is life before death, based on Kathopanishad, which is a dialogue with the god of death. A Zen master was asked this question: what happens to a person after death? And the master replied, I do not know. And the student said, but you are a master, you're supposed to know. He said, I'm not yet dead. Perhaps once I'm dead, I will know. Now, Zen is not bothered so much about what happens after death as much as what happens before death. Life before death is more important than life after death. And today's topic is about life before death based on the inputs of Kathopanishad. What is the greatest gift we have? The greatest gift we have is the gift of life at this moment. A master once asked this question: what is a gift? A gift is something that we value. A gift is something that has been given to us freely. We have not asked for it. And if you really look, the greatest gift we have is the gift of our life at this moment. And the problem is, very often we are not at this moment. Either we are in real time or we are in psychological time. What do you mean by psychological time? By psychological time, I mean we are in the world of thoughts, and the thoughts will take you away from the present, either to the past regrets or to future concerns. So the real question at every moment is, am I in this moment? Am I able to appreciate the gift of life at this moment? Our mind is said to be our greatest enemy. Our mind can be our greatest friend too. How is it the greatest enemy? Because one of the aspects of the mind is it is constantly taking our attention away from this moment. We are not there at this moment. I would like you to visualize a moment in time when we are absolutely blissful. And that experience is in deep sleep. What happens when we are in deep sleep? During deep sleep, we have absolutely no concept of time. It is only once we are awake, we realize for the first time what time is. In Hindi, the term for death is called Kal, and the term for time is also Kal. Whenever we are in time, we are restless. Whenever we are lost in whatever we do, we could be in eternity. Jesus was once asked, how will heaven be like? And he said, there will be no time. The whole quest now is, can we be awake and be as blissful as in deep sleep? The Kathopanishad is a dialogue with the god of death. And the god of death is also the god of time, and that is why he's called as Antaka, the one who brings about the end of time. Now, our quest would be how we can relate to the god of death in a more positive manner. The Bhagavad Gita has got a very nice inspirational quote which says, it is not the Bhagavad Gita, it is from Adi Shankara's Bhajagovindam, who speaks about the Bhajagovindam Kinchid Adita. That means if you are able to study the Bhagavad Gita, then you will no longer have any more business with Yama Dharmarājā. You move away from Yama Dharmarājā. What is the Bhagavad Gita? How does the Bhagavad Gita help? There is another quote from the Upanishad which says, Asatoma Satgamaya, Tamasoma Jyotir Gamaya, mrityor-mā amritam gamaya. The Gita, which is the sum and substance of all the Upanishads. The Bhagavad Gita is considered to be Sarvopanishado Gavo Dogda Gopala Nandana. That means Krishna has milked from the entire Bhagavad Gita, and the essence of the Upanishads is available. And the Upanishads have this message, that once the Upanishadic message is available to you, you move from unreal concepts to that which is real, from darkness to light, and then you understand there is something about you which is deathless. This understanding of the deathless in you is when you move away from Yama Dharmarājā's list. Death or Yama Dharmarājā has no more any business with you. Now, Kathopanishad is part of the Upanishads. The Upanishads are also called Vedanta. Vedanta, one meaning is the end part of the Vedas or the ultimate of the Vedas. The Upanishad can be broken up into Upa, Ni and Shad. Upa means Guru Upasadanam, going towards a Guru. Ni means to sit just below, and Shad means to sit down. That is one meaning. Another meaning of the word Upanishad means Upa means near, to go near. Ni means Nischaya Jnanam, to have a doubt-free knowledge. And Shad means to destroy. Destroy what? To destroy ignorance and get proper knowledge. There is one Upanishad and one statement of the Upanishad which is a great source of inspiration for me, and this is from the Mundaka Upanishad, which says, Pariksha lokan karmachitan brahmana nirvedyam ayat nasti krita kritena. And what does it say? Pariksha lokan, those people who have examined their lives. The great philosopher Socrates asks this question, have you examined your life? Have you really looked into your life and see what is that you have accomplished? And if you really look on what we have accomplished, with all our efforts, we have accomplished more and more of the same thing. Someone has said, if you always do what you always did, you will always get what you always got. Through finite effort, the infinite is never possible. Now, again, as I said, this topic is to experience something of eternity while awake. And eternity is something beyond time. Whenever you are in time, you are in limitations. Whereas whenever you are in eternity, there is no time. There is no limit in time. And therefore, krit akritena, that means through your finite effort, the infinite can never be achieved. Tad vijñārtam, when this knowledge dawns, then you see that there are some people who have been able to acquire what you've been looking for. And such people are the Brahma Vidyā Āchāryas. Tad vijñārtam sa gurumeva abhigachet. You approach a teacher. And what kind of a teacher? Now, according to our tradition, we are not supposed to go to a teacher empty-handed. So you carry something with you. And what do you carry? Samitpani. Samitpani is a dry twig. And what is the symbolism of taking a dry twig? Here is a person who has attained to immortality. Here is a person who has attained to eternity. And when you are going to such a person, there is nothing that he or she would want. And such a teacher is called a Shotriya Brahmanishta. A Brahmanishta is one who is anchored in the truth, who is anchored in God. And not only who is anchored in godliness, has the ability to transmit his knowledge, his experience to us. And if you are able to approach such a person, now that will be, then the whole Upanishads now become more meaningful. Kathopanishad is from the Krishna Yajurveda. The Yajurveda has got two divisions. One is called Krishna Yajurveda, the other is called Shukla Yajurveda. Shukla Yajurveda is the white school, which has two Upanishads among the 10 Upanishads which are considered the major Upanishads. The Upanishads can be classified as minor Upanishads or major Upanishads. These are only technical terms. Major Upanishads are those Upanishads which have been commented by great masters like Adi Shankara. And it is these 10 Upanishads which have been discussed in detail in the Brahma Sutras. Therefore, the study of the 10 Upanishads are considered important. Now, Shukla Yajurveda, or the white school of Yajurveda, has got two Upanishads called Ishavasya Upanishad and the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, whereas the black school, the Krishna Upanishad, has got two Upanishads, one that we are studying now called the Kathopanishad, and the other is the Taittiriya Upanishad. The word Kathopanishad has various derivations. One origin of the name of Kathopanishad comes from Katuta, ka ga ga na cha cha ja ja na ta ta, Katuta. These are the 12 petals of the Hridaya Kamala, the heart lotus, and that is how it has got its name as Kathopanishad, from Ka to Ta. The Kathopanishad is one of the Upanishads recommended for a beginner, and it has got a very interesting story. Initially, I thought it was based on the story, and that is why it is called the name Kathopanishad. Every Upanishad begins with a Shanti Pata, and the Shanti Pata for Krishna Yajurveda for Kathopanishad is a very popular Shanti Pata. I will chant it. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvina Vadita Mastuma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Now, what is the meaning of this Shanti part? Now, the Shanti part is always chanted before the study of the Upanishads. The Shanti part is a method, it's like saying hello. It is like, now, I directly started talking to you without finding out if you are there online also. So, one method is building a rapport between the teacher and the student, just to find out, are you there? Are we in sync? Now, what is the meaning of this Shanti part? Now, one meaning of the Shanti part is Sahana Bhavatu. May this body of master and student be protected. Sahana Bhunaktu. The word Bhunaktu means to relish or enjoy. Let us enjoy and relish this experience together. Saha Viryam Karavavahe. Let us progress and evolve in our studies. Tejas. Tejas means let my intellect be bright and sharp. Tejasvina Bandit, and may there be no quarrel amongst us. And it concludes with Shanti 3 times for Adi Daiva, Adi Bhautika, and Adhyatmika. Obstacles can come from 3 sources. From the divine sources, that is Adi Daivika Shanti, Adi Bhautika, or the worldly forces Shanti, and Adhyatmika, for any obstacles that may come within me. Adi Shankara has given a new twist to the same understanding of this Shanti Pata. We begin with the word Bhavatu. Now, this is a body of a master and student who are studying. Now, what is the protection that we are looking for? Now, what is the danger do we see? In what sense do we need protection? And the teacher makes you think into what can be the highest form of protection ever that somebody can have. And the highest form of protection certainly would be if you are able to attain spiritual knowledge or jnanam. Because, as I said, all the Upanishads and all the spiritual quests are there to help us to attain to the infinite, to attain to Purnatvam, to attain to immortality, to attain to eternity. And there can be no greater quest or no greater protection than to realize the infinite within us. Now, the next phase, Sahano Bhunaktu. Now, when do we relish our knowledge? We relish our knowledge when we are able to practice our knowledge, and the knowledge becomes something that is part of our life. This is called not only Jnanam. The prayer is for Jnanam as well as for Jnana Nishta. That is why the word Bhunaktu comes again. Saha Viryam Karavavahe. Let me put my prayatna. Let me put in my effort. I am here to work day in and day out in my quest for my spiritual accomplishment. And Tejas, any accomplishment, any student requires a very sharp mind. And the prayer is that may my mind be very sharp, may I have a very good memory power. And finally, Shraddha, that I trust my teacher, my Acharya, and that there be no quarrel or no difference between us, because our interaction is based on trust. With this, we begin the actual Upanishad. The Upanishad begins with a very interesting story. This is a story by which you are able to introduce a very unique teacher and the student. The teacher in Kathopanishad is the Lord of Death, Yama Dharmarājā, and the student is Nachiketā. Nachiketa's father, Vajashravas, was doing a very great havan, a form of an offering, in order to get various benefits as to go towards heaven. And part of that sacrifice involved giving away everything. He had to give away all that he had. But the little boy saw a certain disparity in his father's charity venture, in that he was not giving away the best. He was giving away cows that were really useless. And the boy felt a little hurt in his father's practice. And he approached his father and said, Father, you're giving away everything. Whom are you going to give me to? The father was annoyed, but he kept quiet. And when the boy repeated this question for the third time, angrily he said, I give you to death. The boy died, and he reached the doorstep of the Lord of Death, Yama Dharmarājā. That was a long weekend for Yama Dharmarājā. He did not anticipate this boy. He was not on his list. And 3 days and 3 nights the boy had to wait outside. And when he returned after 3 days and 3 nights, he found this boy waiting for him. He was extremely upset that he had to make a boy wait for so long. And he welcomed him with all the honors that you would do for an honored guest, received him and offered him 3 boons. And he said, you can ask for whatever you want. And the boy was extremely smart, and he said that, you know, I want my father's anger to be pacified. I made my father angry, and I want I want peace of mind for my father. And then, what is your second boon? He said, a lot of people want to attain to Swarga, to heavens. My Lord, can you tell me what is the technique that a person, or what are the religious practices a person needs to do in order to reach heaven? Yama Dharmarājā taught all the process, and he verified if the boy understood. And the boy, although a little boy, 8 or 9 years, had a wonderful ability to remember everything, and he was able to recall. And the teacher, Yama Dharmarājā, was so impressed. He said, I will give you an additional boon. This fire sacrifice which helps people to attain to the heavens will be named after you, O Nachiketā. And then, what is your third boon? He said, the third boon is, I wish to know what happens after death. Is there something that remains, or do we, what really happens to us after death? Now the teacher, who is the Lord of Death, wanted to be really certain that the boy is eligible for such knowledge, and he tries to dissuade him by giving him alternative boons. He said that I will give you all the pleasures in the world, I will make you a king of the world, I will give you whatever you wish in form of worldly wealth. And then he proceeded to give him all the heavenly pleasures. And the boy was absolutely firm. He said, keep away all these things for yourself. I'm not interested in it. I just want to know the question. And the boy was able to phrase the question much more clearly. He said, enough of moral science for me. I want something beyond dharma and adharma. I want something beyond the 3 periods of time. I want something beyond cause and effect. And I want it directly from your experience. The way the boy presented himself, the teacher was very clear. The teacher was actually very happy to find a student who was so committed to a spiritual cause, a person who was not swayed by any form of material gains, and a person who had what is called titiksha, that firmness to be able to put up with all forms of difficulties, was able to fast for 3 days, for 3 nights, and had what is called tīvra mumukshutva. Now, just like you have eligibility to enter medical school or IIT, there is a certain cutoff criteria. These are considered important criteria before, and these 4 criteria are remembered as the 4 Ds. A person should have a discrimination. What is discrimination? Discrimination between what is permanent and impermanent. And this boy was very clear that he did not want anything that is impermanent. He wanted only the finite. Dispassion means, or the Sanskrit word for it is vairagya. Vairagya means that a person is not at all interested in any of the material things in the world. Tīvra mumukshutvam, a keen interest, a drive for attainment of Parama Purushartha or moksha, to become enlightened. And fourth is discipline, that he was ready to give in whatever the discipline that was required. Now, this part of the story teaches us so many things. One of the things that was taught indirectly that we need to infer is how a guest has to be treated. In our country, a guest is treated as God. It is said, Atiti Devo Bhava. The word Atiti has got a very nice meaning. Now, the word Titi means date and time. Atiti means one who has not come without prior appointment, without a date and time. Supposing a person enters your home without any prior intimation, such a person is considered as an Atiti, and an Atiti needs to be received well. It is our Upanishads which teach all these things like Matra Devo Bhava, Pitra Devo Bhava, Acharya Devo Bhava, and Atiti Devo Bhava. The dialogue between Yama Dharmarājā and Nachiketā also brought out three important things which are considered as the three rinas, or the three debts that every human being has. They are called Pitra Rina, Loka Rina, and Acharya Rina. And it is these three rinas with the three boons that Nachiketā requested from the teacher Yama Dharmarājā. What is Pitra Rina? Pitra Rina is our debt to our parents. We are very certain that it is impossible for us to repay to our parents what they have done to us. But a great Indian master has said, if you live your life in such a way that others are able to say how blessed your parents are because of the type of son or daughter that you are. If the parents are able to say how lucky they are because they have a son or a daughter like you, then you fulfill Pitra Rina. The second is called Loka Rina. Loka Rina means that I am certain that my life is a life of contribution. I have given more to the community than what the community has given to me. And the most difficult debt is called Acharya Rina. Acharya Rina is when a person attains to Parama Purushartha. Parama Purushartha is moksha. And our tradition says that being born as a human being, we need to fulfill all our Purushartha, Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. And the Moksha Purushartha is extremely difficult to fulfill, and this is fulfilled through the help of the Upanishads, which is given to us by the teachers. Now, this discussion also brings about the greatness of the teacher, the greatness of the student, and the greatness of this whole teaching. The greatness of the student was demonstrated by Nachiketā himself, the boy who had all the necessary qualifications as Viveka, Vairagya, Mumukshutvam, and Shamadhi Shakta Sampatti. It translated into English would be discrimination, dispassion, discipline, and the desire for freedom, the desire for moksha. What are the qualifications of a teacher? A teacher in Sanskrit is said to be a Shotriya Brahmanishta. Brahmanishta means one who is anchored in the teaching, one who is a manifestation of his teaching, one who lives as a manifestation of a God expression through him. And not only that, one has the ability to communicate this to other people, and that is the important qualification of the teacher. Now, the teaching of Vedanta is not objective teaching. Now, if you have to teach somebody about the heart or the liver or the brain, you can show something, and either the direct specimen or under the microscope, or with additional tools, because it is something objective. But what we have is not something objective. Now, it is the subject. The Vedanta teaches about you. And so the teacher really has to hold the scriptures like a mirror in front of the student in a way you are able to see your true self and not to be confused as to who you are. Now we come to the actual teaching of the Upanishads. The actual teaching of the Upanishads is the real challenge for me to be able to describe what the Upanishads try to say. The central teaching really is, I am not my body. If I am not my body, this is very nicely phrased by Ramana Maharshi in the words, in a very small phrase, which says, Naham Deham Koham Soham. Naham Deham means I am not my body. Now, when a great master says you are not your body, the next question says, if I am not my body, then who am I? This question needs to be answered with the help of an Acharya, and a teacher helps you to discover really who you are. And what is the role of a teacher? The teacher takes away from you wrong ideas, your ego, wrong beliefs that you have, and give you something that you've always had but never realized what you've had. The great spiritual teacher, Pial de Chardin, a French Jesuit priest, had made a famous quote that we are not human beings with an occasional spiritual experience, but just the other way around. We are spiritual beings who have forgotten who we are and think that we are limited human beings. And therefore, it is the teacher, through the help of the scriptures, who will give you an idea that you are someone other than the body. If I'm not the body, then who am I? There are a number of techniques that the teacher uses. And one of the techniques, or the technical name for some of these techniques they use, is called Drik Drishya Viveka. Drik Drishya Viveka, Drik means the eye, the seer. Drishya means the objects that I can see and experience. Viveka means a discrimination between the seer and the seen. Now, this concept is based on certain fundamentals. And to have these fundamentals, it requires Shraddha and belief. Now, even science, in its very basic form, is based on certain fundamentals which cannot be verified. And what is that fundamental thought on which Drik Drishya Viveka is based? The fundamental thought is, I am other than whatever I experience. Whatever I can experience is an object of my experience, and the object is different from the subject. I am the subject. Whatever I experience is the object. I experience all the objects in front of me. That is Drishyam, it is not me. The challenge comes when it comes to my own body. And if I use the same law, I experience my body, I am not my body. It becomes even more difficult when it comes to my mind. I experience my mind, but the teaching is, I am other than my mind. I am the witnessing consciousness who uses this body and mind. Whenever we use an instrument, like the spectacle that I am using, I enumerate everything that I see, but I forget to enumerate my spectacles, because an instrument that I use tends to become part of the subject. Now, how does the teacher teach? Now, if I have to use a technique, I will show you my hand and ask you, what is that do you see? And the student will say, I can see your hand. But the teacher will say, in addition to my hand, what is that you can see? And then the student is helped to see, I'm seeing the hand because it is illumined by light. And the teacher now makes you realize, in addition to the hand, I'm seeing hand plus light. The teacher takes you further from the object to the subject. He makes you realize that you're seeing the illumined hand because of your functioning eyes, because your mind is behind your eyes. And finally, you are seeing the hand with light because of the light of consciousness, because you are conscious, because of consciousness within you. And that consciousness within you is the ultimate subject. Now, once you realize this is a quantum understanding that whatever I see, whatever I hear, whatever I feel, whatever I touch, whatever I smell, whatever I taste, every Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha, in every experience, I am experiencing the Atman, the Brahman, the consciousness in me. The Kathopanishad says, Pratibodha Viditam Matam. Now, the more you understand that from the object to the subject, from the sound to the silence, this movement is the whole movement that a spiritual seeker is taken, but this happens very gradually over a period of time. And of course, the teacher uses and comes back to a lot of other techniques. One of the techniques used particularly in this Upanishad is called the Ratha Kalpana, or the chariot example. Now, the chariot example is a very useful example in our life. Now, this chariot example is the chariot that you see whenever you see the Bhagavad Gita symbol of Arjuna being taken on a ride in a chariot, where Krishna is the Parthasarthi, the charioteer. Now, in the chariot example, our body is the chariot, the vehicle. The horses are the sense organs. The reins are the mind. The intellect is the driver, and the passenger is you and I. We are the passengers. Now, how does this example help in our daily life? If you have to be successful in this world, both materially and spiritually, you need to have a fit and a flexible body. And therefore, the teaching is focus on bodily health and see that your body is fit and flexible. Secondly, the sense organs should be controlled by the mind. And the mind should be controlled by the intellect. Now, Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita did something wonderful. He put Shri Krishna as his charioteer. Shri Krishna represents my higher self. If each of us are able to put Shri Krishna, put Parthasarthi as our driver, that means our intellect is driven by the higher self, then the path, the journey becomes very clear. The journey is now the road on which you travel. The road and the direction can be classified as Shreyas and Preyas. Preyas is the pleasant path or the material path. Shreyas is the spiritual path that we all need to work on. I would like to conclude by one or two things that come from this Upanishad. Now, Swami Vivekananda is famous for that quote, "Awake, arise, stop not until your goal is won." And that comes from this Upanishad, Uttishtata, Jagrata. Uttishtata means get up. Jagrata means wake up. Prapyavara nibodhata. You know, the first part, wake up, go to a teacher, get this knowledge. And the same mantra in the next verse talks that the spiritual life is like walking on a razor's edge. You know, it is a very, very challenging path, but it may be difficult, but the teachers say it is possible. Now, it is this razor's edge concept that came in this verse itself that stimulated Somerset Maugham to write a book entitled The Razor's Edge. He had visited India and also visited Ramana Maharshi, and perhaps had been influenced by this Upanishad also. Finally, there is one mantra that I would like to share, which comes in the second part. The Upanishad has got 2 sections, or 2 chapters. Each chapter has got 3 sections called Vallis. Valli means a creeper, and all these mantras are like beautiful flowers on the creepers. And one of these beautiful mantras which decorate the creeper is the first mantra in the second chapter, which is called Paranchikani Vyatarnat Swayambhuhu. Swayambhuhu means the creator. Paranchikani Vyatarnat, he says, all our sense organs are focused outside. And because our sense organs are focused outside, and when the real treasure is within, we are not able to experience the true greatness of the treasure that we are. Kaschid dhiraha pratyak atma naikshate. It is only the courageous few who are able to turn their eyes inwards and be able to focus on the real wealth that it is within. And therefore, the whole spiritual journey is to curb our senses and to be able to focus inwards through various practices which are called upasanas, or through various meditation practice. Shri Krishna or Vyasacharya has been so impressed by the Kathopanishad. As I said, Sarvopanishado Gavo. It is, the Bhagavad Gita is a condensation from all the Upanishads. And if there is one Upanishad from where most of the mantras have been taken, sometimes directly or with some modification, it is from the Kathopanishad. Finally, I would like to conclude and bring to focus the topic that I gave is about life before death. We are here to value the gift of life. More important than life after death is life before death. In the Viveka Chudamani, there is a very great verse which says, Manushutvam, Mumukshutvam, Mahapurusha. 3 things are extremely difficult to get. Human birth, the desire for spiritual awakening, and to find a realized teacher who can guide you. If this can be our quest of life, if you value your life, if you want to live your life to the fullest, then we have to fulfill 3 rinas. Rinas to our parents, rinas to the community, and make that spiritual quest to find a teacher, to be able to discover eternity, to be able to discover immortality. And once this discovery is made, then you are able to chant the Shanti Pata of Ishavasya Upanishad with much more meaning. It goes Om Purnamada. The student now declares that I am Purna, I am complete. Om Purnamada, Purnamidam, Purnam Adaha, Purnamidam, Purnat Purnamudachyate, Purnasya Purnamadhaya, Purnamevavashishyate. I conclude with a deep sense of gratefulness to all my acharyas, particularly Swami Anubhavananda, Swami Paramatmananda, and to Swami Chidananda ji for giving me this opportunity. Thank you very much. Can we take some questions? Is there someone who wants to ask some questions?
Yeah, I think there's one. There are 2 hands raised.
Yeah. Can you help me by getting the questions for me, and then I will be able to reply it?
No, I think they want to. Okay, let me unmute them. Dr. Premanand Nagaraja.
Yes.
Unmute him. Yeah, can you scroll on the attendees thing, and maybe you can see if you can unmute that. I'm not able to unmute the person actually. He's raised the hand.
Not able to unmute. Whether you can text the question, Dr. Premanand, is it possible to text your question?
Yeah, actually, there's another question by. We can take that in the meantime. By.
Can you tell me the question? I cannot see it.
Okay, let me. By Ravi Shankar Dattatri, it says, wonder talk to do or not to do.
What is it?
It says, let me see one. Okay, the questions are not coming properly here.
Even the audio is not coming, is it?
Yeah, I mean, see, if you go to the attendees list, you can unmute that person by clicking on the tab of the shows the microphone there.
I need to do it, or
yeah, you have to do it actually on the that way they can.
Where do I unmute?
It's on the attendees. You can go on the attendees tab and.
Is it possible for you to do it?
I'm not able to do that actually. Only the presenter can do that, I think.
How do I unmute?
Like on the attendees tab, you can see the first column for the attendees. There is a icon for the microphone. You have to click on it.
Icon for the microphone. Is it this microphone? The attendees. This one. Okay. Yeah. Dashboard.
Yeah, on the dashboard, right? Like below that is attendees. So you have to click on the attendees tab.
Yeah, I've clicked on that.
Yeah, and then you can see all the attendees, right? the attendees drop down and you can see all the attendees' names.
Okay, hands raised.
Yeah.
Questions, some 12 questions are there.
Right.
Okay.
So you can go on the person, Dr. Premanand Nagaraja, and you can see the microphone icon there, which you can click on to unmute.
Which is the microphone?
It's,
I'm sorry, I can't see which is the microphone that.
it's the first column, which is like orange tab, orange colored.
Okay, yeah, I can see.
Yeah, you just
okay.
click on the top. Yeah.
Okay, I can see a number of people. I'll go to Dattatreya Ravi Shankar. Okay, Ravi Shankar is open now. Ravi Shankar.
I think he has asked a question actually, Ravi Shankar. Let me see if there are any questions.
Okay, I can see wonderful talk. To do or not to do? Wonder talk. To do or not to do? Is this week?
Is this Viveka at mind or intellect?
Is this Viveka at mind or at intellect? Is this Viveka at mind or intellect? I'm not sure about the question. I would say, is Viveka part of mind or intellect? I would say part of the intellect. Because the mind is more of doubting facility. The Viveka is one which has the ability to discriminate. Did you two have a guru who led to the Upanishads? Certainly, yes. I mentioned the names of the gurus. Today, it is impossible to study the Upanishads without the help of a guru. You may not be able to get a guru all the time, but fortunately at this age and time, you have a lot of gurus online. And through the YouTube, you can constantly be in touch with great acharyas. But once in a while, when they are able to be in your town, you will have a direct experience of them. So the message that I would like to say is, it is important that we do find a guru. And if you find a guru, ask them to explain the Kathopanishad for you. Is there any other questions? If anybody can...
Yeah, there are a lot of questions actually. Do you want to take the questions or do you want to unmute the person?
Can you read any questions for me?
Sure. Okay, let me try one. The next question is by Jagdish Basavapatna. He says, which is the first Upanishad to start our journey?
The first Upanishad could be either Mundaka Upanishad or Kathopanishad. Many teachers prefer Mundaka Upanishad, which is a basic Upanishad, but Kathopanishad can also be a basic Upanishad. Between the two, if I have to choose, it will be Mundaka Upanishad. The Mundaka Upanishad begins in the most fascinating way. The student comes and asks the teacher, what is that knowing which everything becomes known? And the whole Upanishad is an answer to that question. Now, whenever you listen to such questions, the thought comes, is there something knowing which everything comes? Not that you know everything, but everything that you need to live a fulfilled life. What this Upanishad helps you, or all Upanishads help you, is to reach to a level of fulfillment. The next question would be, how many Upanishads should we really study? Once Ramana Maharshi was asked this question, how many Upanishads should I study? And he goes back and says, to see your face, how many mirrors do you need? Each Upanishad has a different quality in itself. So, but even one Upanishad studied well can have its objective. Any other questions, if you can read for me?
Sure. There's another question by Ravi Shankar Dattatreya. Is some of what the Kathopanishad says seems to be reflected in current thoughts. about how the brain works. As we read in the works of Vijayanur, Ramchandran and quantum theory, how much does your specialty of neurosurgery influence your philosophical thought?
You know, working as a neurosurgeon, you see the god of death all the time. You know, Yama Dharmarājā and Yama Dutas are real for us because we live with very close interaction with people going through serious illnesses, death and the dying. And therefore, whenever you are in hospital, whenever you do rounds, whenever you see somebody whom you know is not going to survive too long, you physically feel the presence of Yama Dharmarājā. And when you encounter death through your own patients, something about the frailty of life, something about making the most of the gift of life really touches you. Now, I have been exposed to the world of science, to some amount of psychology, and to the world of spirituality. And I can say with whatever conviction that I can do is that the world of science deals with the objective material world, and the world of spirituality deals with the subject, the one who is experiencing. And because these are two different things, they're really different things. And it will be extremely, extremely difficult to be able to make a correlation. You know, you have a lot of these seminars to try to correlate spirituality and religion, but any efforts in the world of science is an objective world. It is using all the tools that we have to study objects. Whereas spirituality is the one who's studying, and therefore there is no scientific tool or somebody which will help you to understand the subject. Now, this is what I really feel, that Kathopanishad becomes more meaningful, more from an understanding that Yamadutas and Yama Dharmarājas are real for us because we work in and through them in our operating rooms, in our intensive care setup.
I'm sorry, this question was from Murli Mohan, not from...
Yeah.
So the question that I just said, I thought it was from...
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. Thanks, Dr. Murli Mohan, for your question.
And the other question is from Sachin Chavre.
Yeah.
It says, how to avoid being in psychological time, which is cause of the samsara. Are there any specific sadhanas, sir?
Yeah. See, I was watching myself during this whole preparation for this webinar, and how, because I'm preparing for a talk, all these are my thoughts all the time. And even when I'm sitting to eat, these thoughts come. When I'm having a bath, these thoughts come. And I was asking myself, I'm talking about not being in psychological time and going into be in real time. What are the real sadhanas? Now, I'm sitting and talking to you, and we have, all of us have our mobile telephones. Now, if I don't want to be disturbed at this time, I keep my mobile telephone switched on, but I keep it in a silent mode. Then what happens? It is accessing all the data that is required, but it is not going to disturb me. Is there a sadhana, is there a button that we can use wherein we can selectively use our mind? That means when I am doing whatever I'm doing, I'm absolutely focused on what I am there, body and mind, and not and live more and more into real time. Now, first thing is the awareness that we tend to drift off into psychological time. And there are a lot of spiritual practices. One of the spiritual practices, or perhaps the most powerful spiritual practices, are all forms of pranayams. Pranayam is a powerful technique where it helps you to focus on your breathing. But the problem about pranayam is, as long as you're doing that technique, you are there. Other teachers tell you, whenever you're walking, they say, focus on the sensations that you feel on the ground. And they say, help you to be grounded wherever you are. Now, we have to take one or more of these techniques to help you to remind ourselves all the time. Whenever I'm experiencing any object, am I aware of the experiencer within me who's watching all this? And in this frame of mind, this is what one of our Acharyas says: be anchored in the absolute, that is the divinity within you, the consciousness, and play the game of relativity. Let your whole life be a game, playing the game, knowing who you are and playing the game. In that time, you are focused into real time, and then you are aware that this is what I need to do. Small activities like eating food, driving, especially routine activities, just keep a watch on yourself. See yourself, you know, am I in real time? Am I in psychological time? Sachin, that's what I would think.
There's another question by Prasanna Chebi. Says, sir, can you tell me what's the difference between intellect and intelligence?
Intelligence, I mean, this is only technical. Intelligence is more holistic, intellect is more focused. And therefore, the whole process of evolution is to move from the intellect to intelligence. I do not know. Now, intelligence would be something where you involve all aspects, whereas intellect would be more focused. If I can say the left brain and the right brain. The right brain would be more of intelligence, the left brain would be more focused on the intellect.
The next question is by A.R. Ganti. It says, can you select and follow the teachings of a guru who achieved Mahasamadhi instead of a living one?
See, all these teachers who have attained Mahasamadhis can be a tremendous source of inspiration, but they will never be able to clarify the doubt that you have raised. Now, when you raise a doubt like this, between having a teacher who has attained Mahasamadhi to a living teacher, see, this question can never be answered by a teacher who has attained Mahasamadhi. Whereas to answer these doubts, you need to go to a living teacher who has attained. And that is why the importance of a living guru. And if there is one doubt in your mind, and unless that doubt, that is why the word Upanishad, Nishad means Nischaya Jnanam. Now, if there is even a slightest doubt in our knowledge, if I have some water which I'm about to consume, and somebody has put on a poke of doubt that it must be slightly contaminated, but I have 1% doubt. Even if there is a 1% possibility of contamination, I may not consume that water. We are not likely to consume knowledge which is riddled with doubts. And what is the kind of knowledge that we will assimilate is a doubt-free knowledge. And for doubt-free knowledge, you need to be able to have someone who's able to answer your questions. In addition to teachers who have attained Mahasamadhi, you need a living guru.
The next question is by Gopal Talreja. He says, can you please illustrate the process of negation in spiritual inquiry in the story of Nachiketā and Yamarāja?
The spirit of negation? I do not
the process of negation.
Yeah, I'm not sure in this Nachiketā story how the process of negation comes in. Negation here was that he negated all that was temporary. He did not want all the pleasures of the world, and he was very clear that I want true knowledge about myself. Really, what happens after death is the discovery of my true self. That was his question. Now, if you are asking about negation, which spiritual teachers talk about, the Drik Drishya Viveka, the whole process of negation is popularized by particularly Adi Shankara in various poems. Mano Buddhi Hankara Chittani Naham Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham. I am not this body, I am not this mind, I am not this Ahankara, I am not this intellect, I am not with the 5 elements. Then what am I? If you go on through the process of negation, you come to a level which you cannot negate further, and that is yourself. And what is this yourself? Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham. That awareness, that existence, that Purnatvam that I am is what you reach to through a process of negation.
The next question is by Ravi Shankar Dattatri. He says, how can one try to improve the intellect to Nachiketa's level?
Nachiketa is a role model of a Vedantic student. Vedanta, you know, he fulfilled all the eligible criteria in being a person who was very clear that he was for mithya anitya vastu viveka. That means what is temporary and what is permanent. So he was no longer interested in anything that was temporary. He was very clear about something that is permanent. And whatever is temporary, he had no interest on that at all. That is called vairagya. Although Yama Dharmarājā offered him all the pleasures of the world, which anybody would be tempted for, this boy was very clear that he is not in for all that. And he stood his ground and he says, this and only this that I would want. Nachiketa also demonstrated the ability to put up with a lot of physical and mental difficulty. In the sense, for 3 days, 3 nights, he had to fast. Now, can we be somebody like that? In fact, in the whole tradition of Brahma Vidyā students, Nachiketa is considered to be the best. And there are teachers like Swami Anubhavananda have given entire 1-hour talk on the character of Nachiketa. What really Nachiketa means? Nachiketa means one who is fire. That fire that cannot be suppressed. Whatever you do with fire, it grows up. You know, when there is that fire in the belly, when you have that very strong drive, then no obstacles will stand before you and the goal. Now, these are the qualities of Nachiketa that would make a role model student for all students of Vedanta.
The next question is by Rashmi Jain. She says, what is the role of psyching due to repeated listening in believing that we are moving on the spiritual path?
What is the role of psyching, is it?
Yeah. She had said psychosis, then later on she says, sorry, not psychosis, but psyching. So what's the role of psyching due to repeated listening in believing that we are moving on the spiritual path?
All right. See, repeated listening in Vedantic language or terminology, listening to these Vedantic teaching is called Shravanam. So I'm not saying when you listen to something again and again, are you going to be psyched by it? Is that the question? Now, there are 3 things which is very important and how a teacher brings knowledge to you. And that is called through Shruti, through Anubhuti, and through Yukti. Shruti, Yukti, and Anubhuti. How does a teacher work with you? The teacher will help you first to see if whatever he or she is teaching is in accordance with reasoning, if it is something reasonable. Is it something logical? Second is Anubhuti. Is it part of your experience? Now, when you are listening to the teacher, what you need to see is it logical? Is it reasonable? Is it part of my experience? Then there are certain things which are based on Shraddha, which only the scriptures can give you, and that is what is called Shrutis. Now, a Shruti is heard by trust. So these are certain things that you base it on trust and then through logic. So when you listen to a teacher, after some time, initially you listen through Shraddha, and then you're able to correlate what the teacher says is true, both as per my experience, through my own Anubhuti, and also through logic. It is reasonable. And not just something that you are psyched to believe. Because, you know, you can also program a person by repeated instructions.
There's another question by Gopal Rao. He says, great inspiring concepts. I really respect them. But in this modern era, where world around us is immersed in materialist goals, they'll take advantage of our idealistic approach. How should I approach this still truthful to the concept of Sarve Jana Sukhino Bhavantu?
See, these are only seeming contradictions, honestly. See, because essentially, although there is a lot of problems and a lot of people who may abuse the system, there are a lot of good people, and there is a lot of situations where goodness will thrive. And therefore, I think we need to use values more as a lighthouse principle that we are going to abide come what may. And you will see in your own experience on a long term, even today, you will see all businesses which work over a period of time are principle-based businesses. And any businesses which look for any short-term benefits are only for benefits for short-term. So these teachings which have lasted for 5,000 years now are like the pole star. They are like the lighthouses. They are like the gospel truths. And therefore, it is worth investing on these for long-term gains.
There's another question by A.R. Ganti. It says, selection of a living guru is a challenge, as there are many of them are in India and abroad. What criteria one has to use in selecting a guru?
How do you select a guru? Now, this is what is said. You don't have to select a guru. You don't have to select a guru because you will not know who is a true guru and who's not a true guru. It is said for every true guru, there are multiples of false gurus who are there to exploit you. Then how to find a true guru? They say more than the student seeking the teacher is seeking a student. Honestly, that is true. Today, there is a real dearth of people looking for a teacher. There are so many more qualified teachers who are looking for Nachiketā-like students. And therefore, all we need to do is be like Nachiketā, work on these 4 Ds, the 4 principles of the basic preparations of a good student. And I will assure you, and this is true, when the student is ready, the master will appear.
The next question is by Prasanna Chebi. It says, does Kathopanishad talk about the life after death also?
Sporadic, absolutely sporadic. You know, there is something called krama mukti. What is krama mukti means? Where a person needs to go to Brahmaloka and then proceed to full enlightenment. Except for that, whatever I have studied from Kathopanishad is all about life before death rather than life after death. It begins with Nachiketa's question, what happens after death? But subsequently, you know, there is nothing about after death. Although you have the god of death giving you a teaching, this is a regular Upanishad which teaches you like any other Upanishad. There is no instructions about after death except that topic which I spoke about, Krama Mukti. Everything else is about life before death, about various sadhanas. You know, essentially, it is 3 things. After all the story part, it talks about the nature of the Atman. What are the various sadhanas that we need to do in order to attain? So all this is before death. And then finally, what are the benefits that you can get here? You know, the proof of Vedanta is the benefit that you get while alive. And this is what is called Jivan Mukti. Jivan Mukti means I am tethered to this body with all the limitations of the body, but I am free. But my body does not limit me. My mind does not limit me.
So Yargani says, great presentation. I think there's comments by different people now. To read them. Yargani says, great presentation.
Thank you. Is it over?
Yeah, there's a couple of comments actually. Ravi Shankar Dattatreya also says wonderful talk.
Thank you.
And Sachin Chavre says thank you. Murli Mohan says thank you. And I think there is one more question by Ranjini Sunil.
Yeah.
Way to get authentic Upanishads when so many Upanishads of different publications are available?
Okay, see, Upanishads are not to be read as a book. If you take any Upanishad and read, if maybe, you know, one day I was in a temple listening to a great audio, and then I tried to find out what that audio was, and they showed me the CD. It was Mahanarayana Upanishad, and I managed to get the book, and I was reading the words. It didn't impress me at all. The words of the Upanishads will not impress you unless they are unfolded by a teacher. So unless, even if you know Sanskrit, the words are only words, but the words will become fire. They will ignite your heart and make meaning if it is unfolded by a teacher. I would really say, of course, you can read, but maybe listen to various acharyas. Today, in the days of technology, the YouTube is full of great masters who are available, who have spoken on all the Upanishads, and through certain amount of guidance, you are able to make the best use of available technology and the YouTube lectures that are available, so that you will be able to understand the Upanishads the way the Upanishadic masters want you to understand, and not get a wrong idea.
So there are some more hands raised, and were you able to do that? Unmute the mic.
Unmute it, no. I'm not sure how I do it.
Okay, so let me see if we can do something here, which,
all right. If they could text their questions, or have you run out of time?
No, I think I can. Let me see if I can do that. 1 minute. Yeah, there's a hand raised by Shivaswamy Astare. I've unmuted Shivaswamy Astare.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, I want to know how you find time to do this deep understanding of Upanishads. I know you are a busy neurosurgeon, but how do you manage to find time for deep study?
See, when it is your interest, what do we focus on time? Whatever is important for you. And I think we really need to cut off on many things that we would otherwise do. I would say, like, stop reading the newspaper or other news items, which would normally take 1 hour of your time. And if you can get 1 hour of your time when you cut off something else, and if you can just study 1 hour a day on something like this, that is more than enough. And additionally, you know, we have these audios of all the great masters. So whenever you are driving, whenever you are not doing anything in particular, you have the teachers speaking to you. So once you have heard the talk, it is very useful to listen to this again and again. So through some of these methods, you will be able to go into all these Upanishads, because everything is available in audio form today. And if you're really interested, I can guide you further in how we can study the Upanishads while you continue to do a seemingly normal professional life, but giving enough time to study the greatest of what ancient India has to give us, the Upanishads.
Can I add to your comment what you said?
Please go ahead.
What you said, I'm just doing that for the past year and a half.
Wonderful.
I haven't even touched the tip of the Upanishads, and I'm still millions of questions. And each time when I listen to YouTube masters, instead of getting the answer, I get more and more questions rather than the answers.
Sure. This will be the phase, but maybe we have to club with certain other spiritual practices, just not listening to all the audios again. You know, you would have heard of Dakshinamurti. Dakshinamurti's greatest exposition was in silence. It is said, Maunam Vyakya Prakatita Parabrahma Tattvam Yuvanam. Now, Dakshinamurti is supposed to have given all his teachings through silence. And somebody asked the great master Ramana Maharshi, how is it possible to give this great teaching through silence? And Ramana, with all the confidence, says, no, it was not so. Dakshinamurti was answering each and every question that his student raised. And the problem was, for every answer that he gave, more questions propped up. And then a time came when he answered 100 questions, 1,000 questions propped up. And then he decided he's going to keep quiet. And he remained silent. And the magic was, in his silence, all the doubts were cleared. Now, in the process of evolution, when you enter into the presence of a teacher, doubts will come. But then sometimes you need to be in the presence of a teacher. The teacher's presence itself is a method which you can clear off the doubts. See, I also think it takes some more time. You have been working on it for about 1.5 years, but I think it takes time. So to achieve anything, our ancient Indian techniques, they say there are 3 things. It is called Prayatnam, Kalam and Daivam. Prayatnam you are already putting. Kalam is an element of time, and certainly we need to be able to invoke higher forces. And it is the combination of these 3 things that we are able to achieve our goal. And it is my wish for you and the wish for all of us who are viewing that in this life itself that we make necessary efforts and be able to achieve our objective.
Thank you very much for your answer. It was very helpful.
Thank you, sir.
There's another hand raised by Sachin Chavre. Let me unmute him. I've unmuted Sachin Chavre.
Sachin, go ahead.
Yes.
Sachin, can you hear us?
I think let me unmute him again. Let's go to the next one. There are no more hands raised, but I think Dr. Premanand Nagaraj had raised his hand. So I think let me unmute him and see if he has any questions. For some reason, I cannot unmute. I think they have to raise a hand to be like unmute them. So I don't think there are any more hands raised. Let me see if there are any more questions here. Let me one more thing here.
I can see one question here. Is reading the Bhagavad Gita not a substitute to reading the Upanishads, considering Gita to be the gist of all the Upanishads? Certainly yes. Bhagavad Gita by itself would be enough. And again, you need a teacher. And if you're able to study the Bhagavad Gita by itself, Bhagavad Gita Kinchidadita. That's what I began by saying. No, you will no longer be on Yama Dharmarājā's list if the Bhagavad Gita's message comes to you clearly.
Yeah, I think Rajiv Bora has a question. He says, I would definitely like to know how to study Upanishad while going about day-to-day life. Sincerely appreciate your guidance and help.
I have already mentioned this as an answer to the previous speaker. See, we first need to find a living guru. You need to find a living teacher who will be in some way a guide. And once you have somebody as a guide, maybe, and then you can go ahead with various audios that are available online. There are great teachers both on the YouTube and various audios available online, most of them free downloads, very clear instructions on the Bhagavad Gita, on all the principal Upanishads and all the works of Adi Shankara. So it is possible to very systematically, if somebody has to go through, I would recommend you study Tattva Bodha. Tattva Bodha is the basic primer where the various terminologies and Vedanta are really expressed. If at least you have some teacher who will teach you Tattva Bodha, and then you can perhaps listen to various audios on your own.
There's some comments now that I can read. Ranjini Sunil says it was an excellent talk, sir. I think Ranjini Sunil has said, is it not easier to imbibe the knowledge from authentic source than being taught by Guru?
Easier to imbibe the knowledge from an authentic source. I do not know what is an authentic source who's other than a Guru. If the person can speak, we can clarify the question.
Let me see if she has raised a hand. Like only if they raise a hand, then I can unmute them. So let me just check quickly if there are hands raised here. Yeah, there's one more hand raised by Ranjini Sunil. Yeah, I can unmute the person. Ranjini now. Ranjini is unmuted.
Hello, sir. Good evening, sir. Thanks, sir. Thanks for the excellent presentation.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. So, say I have been reading this Bhagavad Gita from Ramakrishna Ashram.
Yeah.
Say, I mean, I find it so much more easier to understand those shlokas, in various contexts. Say, rather than formally attending to all these discourses, because I have attended to this discourses in the past, wherein it's just collective knowledge which we might not be able to implement in day-to-day life. Reading Bhagavad Gita shlokas every day, maybe 2 or 3 shlokas randomly, I'll be maybe circumstantially be able to imply whatever I read in Gita into my day-to-day living. So, which do you suggest, sir? Do you suggest that we attend these discourses on regular basis, or say, is it worthwhile reading Gita on day-to-day basis, say about 2 to 3 shlokas, considering our busy schedules and rest of the other familial commitments? Say, is it actually necessary for materialistic beings like us, wherein we'll have to cater to multiple responsibilities to read a few shlokas of Gita on day-to-day basis?
All right. See, our Indian scriptures are very, very vast. So, if you can focus on one of them, the teachers recommend it will be the Bhagavad Gita. Now, the Bhagavad Gita has about 701 verses. Now, this has to be studied very, very systematically. And that's why, again, systematic teaching is almost like going to a college and studying it under a teacher. Now, how does a teacher teach you systematically? Now, have you been able to study the Gita Dhyana shlokas? See, if you study, before studying the Bhagavad Gita, the teacher will put you through what is called the Gita Dhyana shlokas. They are a set of 10 to 12 collections by Madhusudana Saraswati, a great Acharya. But there is there is something of a blessing, because the Bhagavad Gita, even though it is only 701 verses, it is still like a mountain with some 18 chapters for a person who's not well fluent in Sanskrit, who's got so many things to do in life. And if you are able to get the grace through the Gita Dhyana Shlokas, study the Gita Dhyana Shlokas, and then I will tell you, chapter by chapter, we have to go in a very, very systematic manner. I have been fortunate to be able to study in a systematic manner, and I can tell you there is no alternative to that. And once you're able to grasp, you know, you may not know each verse, but you're able, you know, what the teacher is trying to give that message in that particular chapter. That message you should be able to get. And then afterwards, go deeper and deeper verse by verse. But first you can go by, you know, that's what I would like to do.
All right, sir. Thanks so much, sir. Thanks for the information provided, sir. It was an excellent talk. Thanks a lot, sir.
Yeah, I think we're almost done here. There's one last question. I think it says, with your was asked by AR Ganti again. It says, with your busy practice and other commitments, do you entertain offline chats?
You know, I would be happy. You could certainly offline chat or through email. I would be certainly happy to reach out to anybody in whatever way, on telephone or email or whatever. I would certainly be happy to be in touch, to be able to clarify and guide you to the same teachers that who have helped me to gain wherever I am. I would be very happy to do that.
I think we're almost done here. There's
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the
for all your assistance in making this possible. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. It was a very good talk. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. How many people are watching? Yeah, come here.
Then take off the camera first. I got the shock of my life.
I could see your red. You are you people.
It's all muted, no? How many? 33, 51, 84. 84 people.
We're watching it.
See attendance. 32 here, 52 gone. That means they
52 are gone, is it?
I mean, they must have finished after you talked. They must have gone on. 31 plus 53 is?
So many people are there, is it? Names that we know. Bhavana, Gayatri, Geeta.
You know all these people?
Maybe that Ravi Shankar is there. Sachin is there.
These are the people who ask questions. Huh?
No, these people are there online. Because before you leave, you must choose another organizer.